morning, everyone. So just to contextualize, wait, this is not moving. Evolution of SARS-CoV-2 is complex and dynamic, and there's a high degree of genetic divergence that has accumulated since the emergence of the virus in 2019. These images show basically all the variants that emerged pre-Omicron. Sorry, I cannot point. Okay, we have to guess. Okay. Okay, all the variants that emerged pre-Omicron and post-Omicron, and the genetic divergence that has accumulated since the index case. Despite the loss of interest in SARS-CoV-2, it is still essential that genomic surveillance strategies remain active and that laboratory and epidemiological studies are rapidly performed to ensure risk assessment on novel emerging variants in order to be able to identify variants of interest and variants of concern. So integrated genomic surveillance should be performed among high-risk populations, immunosuppressed patients, animal species where evolution occurs quite quickly in SARS-CoV-2, wastewaters, and in this case of the EUCARE study in high contact settings such as schools. So the objective of the EUCARE studies had relied on an important premise, which is that schools are important places for the transmission of the virus, and that school screening can provide a good understanding of the determinants of infection transmission. So we were worried about schools closure at the beginning of the epidemic, and also on the impact that this had on the mental health of children and adolescents. So we had several objectives in this study. I'm only going to present a part of it, and you can find other findings of the study in posters 93, where we looked at the objective of determining if regular screening with pooled saliva tests is useful for reducing SARS-CoV-2 transmission, and in poster 92, where we evaluate the psychological state of students during the pandemic and its relationship with the preventive measures that were adopted. In this case, and what I'm going to present to here, is the transmission of variants in schools during SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. This was an interventional study with a crossover design, where we did biweekly screening using the Lolly method, where we collected saliva samples, so with oral swabs, in a pool for each class. So all students were tested together in one single test. And if there were positive cases the day after, we would screen each student individually, and we would do genomic sequences of these positive cases. Simultaneously, we applied socio-demographic and psychological questionnaires to the students and to the families. Sorry. Okay, so this is how we work. We collect the swabs at schools. We did this twice a week, on Mondays and Thursdays. We pulled all tests of each class together. We test these pools. If the test was positive, the day after we would go back to schools and test each student individually. If the test was negative, then we would do the next screening at the next predicted day using, again, the pools. So we collected the samples. We did SARS-CoV-2 testing using real-time PCR. If the test was positive with a CT value below 40, we would, and if the CT value was below 28, we could do sequencing using either nanopore or Sanger sequencing, depending on the center where it was performed. If the CT value was above 28, we could not perform sequencing because these were oral swabs, and our sensitivity was quite lost with these CT values. If the test was negative, we would stop the analysis. Sorry. Regarding the bioinformatics analysis, we used Genius for genome assembly. We did the assignment of the SARS-CoV-2 variants using NextClade, and we did phylogenetic analysis using multiple sequence alignment with MAFT. manual addition with AliView, and phylogenetic inference using IQ3 maximum likelihood based analysis, and the Python ETE toolkit to combine the phylogenetic information with the information from our database. So we had 2 countries involved, Portugal and Italy. So this is the study population. In Portugal, we had 9 schools, 143 classes, 1,226 participants, 2,171 samples were collected, and the sampling period was between March 2023 and March 2024, while in Italy we had 12 schools, 130 classes, 1,144 participants, 3,020 samples were collected, and the samples were collected between November 2022 and May 2023. In Portugal, we had a positivity rate in pool tests of 5.47% out of the 1,516 pool tests that were performed, while in the single tests, that were 659 in total, we had a positivity rate of 8.85%. So out of these 57 positive single tests, we could sequence 23 samples. While in Italy, we had a 2.24 positivity rate among the pool tests that were 2,549 that were performed in total, while in the single tests, we had an 8.7% positive rate out of the 471 single tests that were performed. So out of these 41 positive single tests, we could sequence 28 single samples, and additionally 22 pools were also sequenced. This is the list of variants that were identified in our study, both in Italy at the left and in Portugal at the right, and ordered according to the time period where they were identified. You can see that there are many variants that were identified, and here you have a summary of these variants. So the most prevalent was XBB 1.5 with 32% of cases, followed by CH1.1, 26% of cases, and followed by XBB 1.5.21 and JN.1 with both 10% of cases for both variants. The next step was to compare what we found in schools in our study and what our national health institutes reported from the general population. And it was very interesting to see that what we found in schools was in some cases not found in the population. So in Italy, 3 different variants were detected in schools but not reported by the National Health Institutes, while in Portugal 1 variant was detected in schools but not in the population, not reported by the National Health Institutes. We also looked at the timing of reporting, and in this case, in Portugal specifically, and for the JN.1 variant, we detected it in Portugal in schools several months, so 6 months before the National Health Institutes reported it at the national level, indicating that we are able to detect these variants very early in schools. The next step was to look at the phylogenetic trees and at the clusters of cases. So here we're looking at phylogenetic clustering and not clustering of cases within classes, which is what you can see from one of our posters. So this is different. And here, this is just an example of a couple of clusters that we found. And we characterize these clusters, and we can see, for example, that some clusters of variants have students that come from different schools, and that for which the samples were sampled with a time frame of 1 month in maximum, up to 1 month. So between 3 weeks and in 1 month, indicating that these variants are circulating for quite some time. So here we identify or describe a rapid, simple, and cheap screening method for viral epidemiological monitoring in a high contact environment, such as schools. So we show that pooled saliva screening using the LOLI method is a valuable method for detection of SARS-CoV-2 infection in schools. We also show that epidemiological surveillance in schools is a reliable method for detecting variants early, because we find them, in some cases, we find them in schools and they are not reported by our national health institutes. And in other cases, we find it much earlier than our national health institutes. So to conclude, early identification of SARS-CoV-2 variants can facilitate prompt public health measures, and our methods can be applied for future outbreaks or for routine monitoring of respiratory virus other than SARS-CoV-2. Thank you for your attention.